Um, so Miss Krista Goon will be the one who is for the sharing session. Krista Goon is a director with Penang Women's Development Corporation, where she advises on matters related to women's economic empowerment, leadership, and communications. She's also the co-owner of Red Box Studio with 24 years of experience in strategy, communications, and marketing. As a communicator, she is most interested in stories that inspire. During the pandemic lockdown, Krista started her Womenpreneur Asia podcast, where she interviews Asian women entrepreneurs across Asia for their business strategies and life lessons. To date, her podcast has had more than 10,000 downloads. She also co-founded Women Biz Sense, Penang's most dynamic women entrepreneur association, leading to her nomination for the Great Women of Our Time Awards in 2008. Women Biz Sense members have their booths in the foyer, so be sure to check them out later. And as you can see, communication underscores all the work that she does. Today, she is here to talk about why communication skills matter and how you can use her strategies to help you win in the workplace. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Krista Goon.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. There are some gentlemen I'll miss. I know that this is the dreaded hour for a lot of people who speak because this is just right after lunch where your tummies are very happy and you're feeling that maybe a nap is in order, right? So I have to keep your energies up. I have to keep you awake. So I'm going to try my best, but I hope you will also participate and try your best as well, okay? So this is 1 hour that I hope to impart to you some of the things I've learned in my own career as first 7 years working in corporate and after that as a business owner. And of course, as the MC has rightly pointed out, there are a couple of things that I do besides running a business and besides doing the work that I do. So today we are going to talk about influence and impact and why your communication skills matter. So for those, and this is a hint, for those who actually take part, there'll be some special gifts for you. And my team, Ayn, will be here to pass them out to those who ask the right questions and even, have the right answer if you want to answer on your friend's behalf. So the first thing I want to do is to ask you this question. Who influences you? We're going to talk about influence, right? Who influences you? Think about this question for a while. Okay, so influence is something that we think is such a huge word that is like, wow, these days we have the word social influencer. We know that, right? But in our own personal space, who influences you? Think about it I'm sure you can think of at least one person. Okay? And why does that person influence you? Why do you feel that that person is so impactful in your life? What has that person brought into your life that has made you feel that, wow, that person truly has inspired me? So another word for influence is probably inspiring. Someone who makes you feel really good. Someone who makes you feel that you can do big things in life if you, talk to this person more or went and had coffee with this person more, right? So I'm sure all of you have a name. Anyone who doesn't have a name in their mind right now? Nobody dares to say that because then I'll pick you and say, why don't you have a name, right? Okay, so who influences is very important. Okay, we start with that. So because I try to always personalize my sharing because all of us have life experiences. And I think there's nothing better, nothing stronger, nothing more impactful than to really go personal and really go deep. Okay. So the next question is even more powerful. Who do you influence? Okay, so who do you influence? Okay, so if you felt that someone influenced you, now the other question in return is, who do you influence? Can I ask anyone to answer here? Who do you influence? Your husband. Good question. Good answer. Anyone else? Who do you influence? Children, yes, children. And who else? Colleagues, yes, colleagues. Friends. Customers, yes, for those of us in business, yes, customers, right? And for those of you who are working, your bosses, perhaps, right? Because you get to influence your boss, your superiors. So the concept of influence is actually very important in our lives. So we think of it as a huge word, but actually we do it every single day. We're influencing someone every single day of our lives. So in order to make it even more impactful, we need to learn how to do it. So this is John C. Maxwell quote. And if any of you have read his books or watched his videos, you know that he's a really, really impactful speaker. And this is what he says. If your desire is to be successful or to make a positive impact on your world, you need to become a person of influence. Okay, so that is basically what it boils down to. You need to become a person of influence. And today I'm going to share with you how you can do that. So stay tuned. And remember that at the end, if you answer, Ayn will be the one, she'll be your Santa Claus today. She'll give you your goodies. So I want to start with the story of poppadoms. Who has ever tried this brand? Who has tried this brand? Okay, there are some people who have tried it, not many, but a number of people, okay? This brand is in the supermarket. It's in Aeon. Just go. If after this you feel like, okay, after this I feel kind of hungry, I want to try some poppadoms, this is the poppadoms to try, okay? This is poppadoms from Uncle Sabas. It's a local brand. Okay, I'm going to tell a story about this brand. And it has something to do with communications. Okay, so this is a picture of some of our Women's Sense members. Women Biz Sense is the entrepreneur organization that I co-founded, my friend Josephine, in 2006. This is our 12th anniversary dinner. We had a theme. Our theme was Bollywood night. So we all love dressing up. As women, who doesn't love dressing up, right? I mean, looking good, looking, elegant. So we all dressed up. And I'm sure some of you here, if you recognize these ladies in the slide, so we all dressed up and we had a lovely, lovely dinner. But how does this relate to the poppadoms? So when we were preparing for this occasion, I was thinking, how nice would it be if we could actually have a theme, the snacks that befitted the theme of Bollywood night. But I didn't know Uncle Sabas poppadoms. I saw the product in the supermarket. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know the brand. I didn't know the owner. I didn't know anyone. Okay? But I thought, what a wonderful thing it would be if we could actually have Uncle Sabas sponsor something for our event. Okay? So what did I do? I went to Facebook. I searched for Uncle Sabas poppadoms, and I sent him a DM. Of course, at that time, I didn't know whether behind the Facebook page was the actual Uncle Sabas, right? So I just thought, okay, let me just try and see who I could reach. And so I managed to reach the brand, and the actual brand owner replied. And so I told him our story. I said, we're a bunch of women in Penang. We're having Bollywood night, and we would like to have you to come in as a sponsor. Could you come in with your products? That's all we asked. And he said, yeah, why not? Because it came with the theme, right? It came with the Bollywood. And he was so excited. We're trying to promote Indian culture, right? So this is poppadoms and this is Bollywood night. So he came in with the prizes. So he sponsored our hampers, and we gave every member who came for Bollywood night poppadoms on the tables. They could try, they could eat, right? They could sample. For some of them, they have never even tried this brand before. You've tried the regular poppadoms, but not this one, right? So that's me. That's me in my Indian gear. And then that's the lady who won the hamper, which had all the poppadoms inside. So what I'm trying to say is that even if you don't know a person, you can still influence the person to help you if you ask the right way. if you ask the right way, the right time, the right person, you can get the things that you want. And that is the power of communication. Communication is not about manipulating other people. Communication is about using the right ways to get what you want, and at the same time, the other person gets what he wants. So what did Uncle Sabas get out of this sponsorship? What did he get? Branding, visibility, people who started to know his brand. And now I'm talking about his brand. And this is also live on Facebook. So people who are watching on Facebook probably get to know the brand too. So you see, this is win-win. So win-win for everyone. So for those of you who are watching on Facebook, if you know this brand, put yes in the comments so that we know you know this brand. If you don't know, go and try the brand. So this is not advertising for Uncle Sabas, but just as a way of giving an example of how communication works in our real life. So communication is not those things that you see in work, okay? It can be used in real life, and this is how you use it. So what's on the agenda today? So I want to make this 45 minutes very, very fruitful for all of you. I want to make sure that you learn something. And the most important thing for me is I always believe in the practical applications of learning something. Because I don't like people, like I was mentioning to Mr. Quay here, I don't like people coming for a training or an event, listening, goes in left ear, goes out right ear. And tomorrow you forgot about it. And tomorrow you say, oh, what did Krista say? I don't know. Can't remember, right? But I want you to really look at it in a way of how can I practice this? How can I use this in my daily life so it can make my life better? So all of us here want something out of this session. We want to make our lives better. So there are three things. One is understanding impact influence. Two is the communication skills that you need in order to become more impactful and how to implement this in your life and career. How many of you here are in business? Okay, very few. So the rest of you in corporate. Okay, got it. And of course, at the end, I like to give you something. It's a personally curated list of resources that I feel that would be very, very helpful for all of us, not just people in business, but also all of us here who want to do something with our lives, with communication. So I've really spent some time curating that list, and I hope that I am able to give it to you at the end of this session. So back to a little bit introduction about myself. Today I'm representing, it's very strange. Normally when I go and speak, I represent my own business, Reebok Studio. It's Reebok Studio, not Reebok's Karaoke. So just to be very, very clear here again, clarity is the essence of communication. But today I'm representing Penang Women's Development Corporation as a board member to speak to all of you about communications. But I think besides representing PWDC, I also have a lot of work in communications. I can see from this list, okay? I'm not only a business owner, I'm a podcaster, I write, I market, so there's a lot of things that I do. It's very related to communications. And I think the other twin of communications is marketing. Because if you know how to market, you know how to communicate. If you know how to communicate, you know how to market, because both really are intertwined. So that's where I also want to challenge all of you to think of this. If you're just thinking communications per se, it's not going to help you much in your life. But if you think of communications and marketing, they come together. They're like best friends, right? They're like Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, something like that. So think of it that way, as a pair. So what I do is all this, and later we can get into that. I'm a co-founder of Women Business, as I showed you just now. I'm also with International Association of Business Communicators Malaysia Chapter. This is also a way for me to develop and learn more about communications because it is available worldwide. So if any of you are considering to raise your own communications game, consider joining IABC. And of course, I'm the board member for PWDC. And this is a picture of strategic planning that we had in Bukit Merah just early this year. And what I do there as a board member is I advise on women's economic empowerment and leadership issues, as well as advise the communications department. So you see, in my life, a lot of times I'm doing communications, I'm doing marketing. So this is really who I am, for a long time. So now the question is, how much more impactful, influential do you want to be? So for those who are watching on Facebook, please join in and type in your answers, whether it's A, B, or C. Now for the audience who is here live, okay, who says C? C. Okay, this gentleman says C. Who says B? Nobody? Who wants to be A? Okay, great. I'm in a room, correct room then. If all of you says, I'm comfortable where I am, then I think my job is done, right? But yes, we all want to become more influential. And I hope that the few minutes that I started with actually have convinced you the power of becoming more influential. So what is impact and what is influence, right? So both come together. So this is what it's all about. Being impactful, being influential is about the ability to persuade, the ability to influence, to sell. Okay, so people always look at selling like some sleazy thing, right? Like, oh, I don't sell anything. We are all selling ourselves. Every time we stand up to speak, every time we raise our hands in a meeting, every time we talk to someone out there, whether it's a one-to-one, we are selling. And what are you selling when you are speaking to other people? That's the question that we need to ask. Okay? Are we selling ourselves positively? Are we selling ourselves negatively? Okay? So it doesn't matter whether you're man or woman, we are all selling. So selling is not just a domain of business or people who are entrepreneurs, but it's also every one of us, every day in our lives. That is why some people go higher faster, because they know how to sell. They know how to get where they want to be. And of course, transform, convince, and of course, at the end, is to achieve results. Because at the end of the day, why are we all here? We're all here to learn something so that it can make our life easier. It can help us get to where we want to go. Because we can't be learning something. Of course, we can learn something for the sake of learning something. But it's better to learn something to help us achieve something that we want. Okay, there's a higher purpose to all this. So it's not just learning for the sake of learning. So remember papadums? Every time you go and look at papadums in the supermarket, I hope you remember the story. And I hope you think about, oh, papadums, okay, yes. So this also means that you get things done. Okay, you get things done. Greater communication, greater impact helps you get things done. And it gets their support, especially if you're working, right? You need people to support your ideas, support your mission, support the mini projects that you have. Those are the things that you need people to come in and say, hey, I support you. Okay, so selling your idea is very, very important that way. Advance the projects, of course, be the go-to person. Can you imagine your world if you were the go-to person in your domain, in your area of expertise, in whatever that you choose to be famous for or to be good at? You're the go-to person. You will get all the resources. You get all the opportunities. You have to say no. Sometimes you have to say no. And so this is where I encourage all of us, men and women in this room, and also those who are watching on Facebook, is to also think about what would it be like if you were the go-to person in your field or your area of expertise, right? How would that world look like? So start imagining that world for yourself. Get noticed, get promoted, get more money. So these are all the wonderful outcomes if you are able to really get to the stage where you become the go-to person. You become the expert that everyone wants to be. So what communication skills do you need? So now here's a question I'll ask all of you. We've talked about communications, impact, influence. What communication skills do you need in order to get the outcomes that I just showed you? What kinds of skills do you think you need? You can't say communications. What communication skills do you need? But not communications, yes, but what things in communication do you need? Name something. Persuasion. Okay, persuasion. Pardon? Impactful first impression, yes. Okay. Pardon? Articulation, yes, articulation. Effective. Body language, yes, body language. Okay. Anything else? Clear and precise. Yeah. Anything else that you feel is part of communication skills? But listening, yes. Yes, listening. Actually, a lot of people think communication is all about the talking. But actually, the far more powerful part is the listening. The listening is far more powerful because if everyone started to talk and no one listened, what kind of impact will we be making on each other? Nothing, right? It'll just be like pasar malam. Right? Everyone's just talking and talking and talking, but no one's actually listening, right? So communication skills, there are many, many components to it. So it's not just about the speaking. So even though a lot of people think it's about speaking, but it's really not about that. So it's this, right? Remember, the first thing that comes to our mind is this, the reading, writing, and all that. And I'm really glad that that lady behind there talked about listening, because I think that is one of the more powerful skills that you can have if you want to make it as a communicator in the world. You listen first, and then you talk, okay? But besides that, you need this, which is people skills. Because if you don't have people skills, you can be a great speaker. You can talk and talk and talk, 19 miles an hour, whatever. But no one wants to listen to you. There's no audience in the room. There's no one at all, right? You go to a meeting and people hate being in a meeting with you because they don't want to listen to you talk. Or you're the only one talking there in the meeting and everyone keeps quiet, right? So having people skills is actually one of the most important things to have. And what are people skills? Some of you named them just now, body language, but empathy. Why I put empathy first is because if you don't have empathy, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do, right? If you don't empathize with another person, it really doesn't matter. So the whole idea of people skills is that you put your reading, your writing, your speaking, and your listening, imagine them as Lego blocks. Those are the Lego blocks. You start with these 4 Lego blocks. But on top of that, you need to put the magic sauce. Your magic sauce are the people skills. If you can have your basic building blocks and the magic sauce, you would have a very, very good way to impact and influence the people around you, your bosses, your friends, your colleagues, your family, your children, your neighbors, your community. So this is what I always believe is to be true. To make it in this world, whether you're working or not working, whether you're a homemaker or not, whether you're in business, you need to have people skills. And so this is why I put in some of the ones that I consider very important, but I'm sure you have in the back of your mind something that you feel is also very important. So put those things in and ask yourselves, right? How am I showing curiosity? How am I showing respect? How am I showing empathy each time I communicate, each time I talk, each time I present in a meeting? So one of the first things you need to do is, how do you do it? Is develop your skills. And I think a lot of times as women, we all come to a stage in our lives where we always feel that there's this imposter syndrome. And even Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook, that very, very famous woman of Facebook, she has also admitted that she has had this feeling, this imposter syndrome feeling. So what does imposter syndrome mean? It means that you feel sometimes like a fraud. Like somehow, someday, people are going to find out that you're really not that good at what you do. You're really not excellent. You're just, winging it. You're trying to do something and you're trying to fake it as you make it kind of feeling. So a lot of women have that. I'm not sure whether men have it. Do gentlemen have it? Do gentlemen feel that way? You do feel that way. Okay. So usually it is women who talk about imposter syndrome. And when I interview women in my podcast, a number of them tell me this as well. that they sometimes feel like, what right do I have to be here? I don't know whether have I just landed in this place, by coincidence, or am I really that good, right? So the one way to actually get over those feelings of imposter syndrome is to really, really develop your skills. And I think developing your skills comes in many forms, which means knowledge. Okay, if you don't have the knowledge, please go and get the knowledge. These days, knowledge is everywhere around us. So we can have it on YouTube. You can go and find stuff on YouTube. You can sign up for a class. You can sign up for a course, workshop. So develop that knowledge. So if you feel that at some point in your life, you need to be able to speak better, go and sign up for a class. Learn how to speak better. If you feel that that is just too much for you, start with a small group in your area, in your company, right? You can learn how to practice speaking, how to be better at articulating your thoughts. And then develop that knowledge into expertise. Because knowledge by itself can only take you so far. But of course, without knowledge, you don't have substance. If you don't have substance, people will not respect you when you open your mouth to speak. And especially just as I was talking to Mr. Quay, it's like, if you're in a technical team and you don't have technical knowledge, no one's going to respect you. Okay? I mean, this is the truth, right? No one's going to respect you because they think you don't know. So you have to really have some form of substance, know what you're talking about, and then raise that level to an expert level. Okay? You may need to find mentors. You may need to find other people who have done it before, ask for help, but at the same time, make sure that you just don't stay at the knowledge level. Raise your own game. Raise your own internal game. Go higher and become the expert. Okay? So you choose. Okay? This is not something that people force upon you. You decide at what level you want to be an expert in. So if you can have knowledge, you can raise it to the expert level. Then the other thing I like to focus on is strengths. So a lot of people focus on weaknesses. Like, oh, how can I improve my weakness? And I'm really bad at this. I tell people, stop saying you're bad at this. Because the more you say it, the worse it becomes. Okay? So there are people who say, oh, I'm bad at maths. I'm bad at drawing. I'm bad at driving, whatever. I'm bad at parking. Okay? So stop saying that. Because the more you say it, the more you internalize it. So we don't want to internalize all the not good stuff. But focus on your strengths. So strengths meaning, what are you good at? If you don't know, go and ask a friend. Hey, what do you think I'm good at? What do you think that I'm really, really good at? So if you can find your strengths and you can put all these things together, your knowledge, your expertise level, and focusing on your strengths, whether it is speaking, whether it is writing, whether it is listening, that could be a strength. Imagine the kinds of things that you could do with that. So I call this like something like a superpower trio. You need to be able to understand your strengths. And if you don't understand your strengths, go and find someone who can help you. One of the things that I really enjoyed doing was the Strengthsfinder. Strengthsfinder allow you to find out your top 5 strengths and all those strengths, right? So when you know your strengths, you focus on your strengths. And then you outsource your weaknesses. Okay? Because you're not going to have time for you may want to if you have extra time, but not necessarily everyone wants to focus on their weaknesses, so it outsources. I'll tell you a weakness of mine, right? When I was doing my podcast, my weakness was I couldn't use GarageBand to put the music to my interview. Okay? It drove me crazy. I was like, okay, I need to do this, right? Can't be that bad, right? Technically, it should be just very easy. And I watch all those YouTube videos and say, okay, this is how you do this. This is how you use the software, right? But it just drove me crazy. I couldn't do it. So in the end, I had to surrender and say, this is not my strength. This is not what I'm good at. I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at interviewing people, but I'm not going to do the part where I have to put the music to the podcast. So I outsourced that to my team member. Okay? So make sure that you know where you can do your work, which areas that you can control and what you can do, and the ones that you really are good at, focus on that. So I'm good at interviewing people. So I focus on that. The other parts, I outsource, I delegate. So these days, that's the way to be smarter with your time. Okay, so a lot of things, find your strengths and work on them. So this is another thing that I want to talk about, is this is the book, if you go out to the PwC table, this book is for sale. It's also available in ebook format. So this is a book project that I worked on with two other friends of mine, Josephine and Emmy. And we had this book launched in June of this year. So this book is an anthology of 24 stories of women in Penang. And when we worked on this, we all worked in the areas of our strength. So some of us worked on the interviewing part, some of us worked on the writing, some of us worked on the editing. So this is also an example of when you have a certain skill, you understand where you are, you can work in projects with other people, and you can understand where you fit in. Because you really don't see that, sometimes you don't see yourself fitting in every single area, but there are specific areas you can fit in. So if you are asked to lead a project, ask yourself, what strengths can I bring to that project? And if I can bring that strength to that project, then say yes. Say yes because you can bring something to the project or to the people working with you. So this is a combination of our work. The second thing is add value to others. Adding value to others is something that I feel that all of us should embody in our work, in our business. What do you mean by adding value? Now that if you worked on the first strategy, which is to raise your knowledge, have the expertise that you have, right? So you don't keep it all inside. You don't take all your expertise and just say, okay, I'm going to just, don't tell anyone, I'm going to do my own stuff. So what you do is right now, you go out and share. Exactly like what I'm doing right now. I'm sharing, right? I'm representing PwC, I'm sharing about what I know in the course of my work. So when I say add value, it means that also add value from the area of your strength. Do what you are really good at. So today I agreed to speak because I know this is the area that I could contribute. I could add value to all of you. I could speak from my own experience. Can you imagine me talking about engineering? I am not, okay? I'm definitely not an engineer. I don't have the credibility, but I know I have the credibility and expertise in communications. You can ask me things about communication. I can tell you about the stuff that I've done. So that adds another layer of credibility and respectability to you when you can talk honestly about the work that you do. So always I tell people around me is walk your talk, okay? Do what you're really good at and really go deep, really go deep in that subject matter domain. So adding value to others, in this case, during MCO, I've done lots and lots of online talks, but even prior to MCO, I started in 2005. I don't know whether some of you were working then. I started doing this speaking, in 2005. Why? Because, okay, this is a trivia, okay? How many percent of the world are afraid of public speaking? How many percent of the world are afraid of public speaking? Just take a guess. 100%. Oh, can't be 100. 80. 90. 80. Close. 70. Oh, that's very close. So apparently, and here's the answer, 73% of the world fears public speaking. 73%, okay? But you know what? That's the other part of it too. If you want to get good at what you fear the most, sometimes you've got to jump in and do it. So I had a little bit of an advantage of a head start because when I was in school, I was a debater. Okay, so I could stand up and speak. But that still didn't prepare me for speaking in a public, public domain like this. So in order for me to practice, what's the better way to practice than to just go and speak? So if you want to speak, and right now you're feeling like you can't do it, the next time your boss asks you to speak or to lead a project where you have to stand up and speak, be the first person to raise your hand, right? You may be terrified. You may be shaking, right? You may have butterflies. You may have butterflies the week before. Not even butterflies on the day itself. You have butterflies the week before. But the more you do it, the less terrifying it becomes. So public speaking, okay? And why public speaking, I say this, is because that is one way you can really, really impact people in a very, very big level. Okay, right now I'm speaking to all of you here in the hotel, but there are people watching on Facebook. There are people who could be sharing the talk on Facebook. So you can really impact a lot of people by just using your voice, by just sharing what you know. So this is where I encourage all of you, if you can, try public speaking. Okay, not easy, but there are ways and means of getting around to it. And I know that once you do it, you'll be like, why did I do this earlier? Why didn't I try it earlier? I know that sounds crazy to some of you. Like, I would never, stand up and speak in public like this. But I would say, there's always the first time. Okay, if you do the first time, you can do the second time and third time and all that. So that is where we want you to be, right? Impactful, influential. So this is what I did, even during MCO, when we all locked down. I did 50 sessions of Facebook Live. I have never done Facebook Live before, to be honest with you. I've done public speaking, but I've never done Facebook Live. I had to figure out how to do the tech stuff, but I made sure that I used that opportunity, the lockdown, to share what I know with others. So what I did was I got my entrepreneur friends together and get on a 1-hour Facebook Live session with me. And so we have all these different topics, all the different things that they could share. So if you're interested in this, go and search for this on YouTube or even on the Redbox Studio Facebook page, and you can see all the replays easily. And then my podcast, something that I started also during the pandemic, is that a lot of us start a lot of things during pandemic, right? Because we're so bored at home. So I started this, and just last week, I hit 10K downloads, and I'm very, very happy because this is something that was, to me, a passion project. I did it because I wanted to talk to Asian women entrepreneurs in Asia. And if you want to know the backstory of that, you can go to the website womenpreneurs.asia.com to read how the project started. So actually, project was something that I pitched when I was in Hawaii in a leadership program. And I managed to make it happen. And one of the things I'm really, really proud of is I'm able to still utilize my communication skills. I'm still able to create content even when I'm stuck at home. So think about that for yourself, right? How can you create content? How can you share what you know? So this is me sharing what I know in the ways that I know how to do it. And the third one is say yes to opportunities. Okay? A lot of people these days will tell you to say no, right? Because we all have 24 hours. We all have very little time. All of us are super busy, right? So a lot of things come on to us and we say, no, 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 we can't do it. But say yes to opportunities that fit your expertise levels, to fit what you want to do, and be strategic about it. You don't have to say yes to like everything that comes your way, but say yes to the things that you know will help enhance your role at work, help you enhance yourself at, in the company you work for. Be seen, be noticed, so that people can know you for what you do. So this is where I say yes to opportunities. I've been saying yes to speaking opportunities for a long time, since 2005. And every time I say yes, I learn. And like I was talking to Dr. Rohana just now, every time we say yes to a speaking opportunity, there's so many hours that we spend preparing for that speaking or moderating opportunity. It's not just like saying yes and going there and just saying whatever that comes to mind. No, we have to prepare. But in that preparation, in that period of preparation, you actually learn so much more about the topic, about what you want to say. Maybe there's 3 different ways of saying it and you didn't know. Like while researching for this talk that I was giving, I learned that there were so many other things that I could have said to show and share with you, right, about how it can be more impactful. But because I only have limited time, I can't say everything. There were like probably 10 different strategies I wanted to share with all of you, but I could only pick, like 3. So to me, these are the top 3 things I wanted to say. So say yes to opportunities. Now, this I wanted to tell you a story about blogging and me. So for many of you who know me, I do write a lot. Actually, before I started speaking, I actually started writing. Okay, writing is the thing that makes me happy. And I started a blog in year 2000. I don't know whether some of you are born yet, but okay, if you're 22 years old, maybe you were just born. So a blog is a place where you write what you feel. It's like an online diary, right? So I started a blog in 2000 because at that time I was working. I was working for a company, and I wanted to rant. Actually, I wanted to write about all those things that were happening at work. All those things that I felt was like so, something I had to get off my chest. So I started a blog, but the blog is public. It's on the internet. So I've been blogging for a few years, and in 2008, a client came to me and said, "Hey, I see that you've been blogging. Could you teach my staff how to blog?" And this was so random, right? I mean, the fact that I did it for myself, that I started a blog because I wanted to blog. And then somehow or other, it caught the attention of my client, who comes and tells me, "Hey, I see you've been blogging. You're doing a really good job. Can you help my staff to blog properly?" Because at that time, people wanted to put more of their own materials online, but you don't always have to have an advertisement. You can always have it as a blog, right? So that's how I ended up coaching my clients' staff how to blog. So to me, this was a very interesting story to tell you that what you do sometimes, you never know whose attention it may catch. Because you said yes to the opportunity, more opportunities come. So to me, this one is really random, but it's really good because I got paid 5 figures for that, for coaching people how to blog. So this is really something that, think about it. Communication makes you money. Really makes you money, right? And if you know how to use the communication skills, you can make it even more money. So this is the story about blogging. So last time people thought blogging was just about advertising, putting ads on the blog. But blog coaching is one of the ways back then in 2008 that people could make money. So just to summarize it, 3 very important things that you need to do: develop your skills, add value, and of course, say yes to the opportunity. Once you have the value to add to people, please start going out there and saying yes to opportunities so that you can raise your profile out there. Okay, so I love stats, right? Even though I'm not a maths person, right? So how many % of a person's job success is directly due to communication skills? And right, after we've talked about it, communication skills means also people skills. Okay, so it's not just the reading, writing, and all. How many %? Guess. Those who are watching on Facebook, just put it in the comments too, if you want to join. So how many %? 80. Wow, people like 80. 80 is it's like 80-20, the Pareto principle, right? 80-20, like let's do 80. Okay, how many % of a person's job success is directly due to communication? And in this case, I put / people skill, because communication is people skills, right? Connecting. 5-5, okay? Depends on the job, okay? That's a good answer. I never thought of that, but depends on the job. 90, okay. 90. Drum roll. 85. 85% of job success. We're not talking about any job. I mean, being successful at your job really comes from communication and people skills. So if you really feel that you want to be a success at your job, whatever job you're doing right now, make sure you focus on, number 1, the building blocks, which is your communication, and on top of that, your people skills. Because if you have great people skills, you will actually, really, really succeed at what you do. Okay? And so the question is, how impactful and influential do you want to be? Because this talk is not about me. This talk is about you. Okay? How impactful do you want to be in your life? Where do you want to go in your life? If you're just starting out in your job, you have a lot of things to explore in your life. If you are going to take a career break, like what Datuk Rahana was talking about, right? You're going to take a career break. Okay? Where do you want to be? How do you want to imagine that? So how impactful? Because even if you take a career break, you're still impactful to the people in your family, right? You're still influential to people in your family. So it's not just like, oh, I took a career break, therefore I'm no longer, impactful in my community. You still are. So how impactful do you want to be? So that's the question that I want to leave all of you with today. Start thinking about that. And once you think about that, use the 3 strategies I've given you so that you can start building up what you want your life to be. Okay? And thank you very much. I hope you've had a really insightful, I would say. So what I want you to do, and I love people who take action. Okay? Email me and I'll give you my list for free, okay? For free. To help you elevate your communication skills, because I actually curated that list. So this is not something I just, took from somewhere. This is my own personal go-to list. I love this, all these things that I picked up for you. So take a snapshot of this, email me, and I'll send to you, okay? Okay, done with the screenshot. I'm going to just quickly go through. This is what I do as a business. I didn't mention that because today I'm representing PwDC, but this is my business. What I do is, what I and my husband do actually, is that we help people with going online successfully. We have a book, we teach, we train, and we do all these other things. So if you want to know more, just get in touch with me. And I always like to give people value, right? Okay, so even if you're too lazy to email me, some people are really, really like, forget about it, right, when you go by. So I'm going to give you this. Oh, sorry, this is. So these are the 3 books that if you really want to learn more, I'm a big believer in learning, okay? You can learn from podcasts. You can check out my podcast too, okay? But you can learn from books. So I'm going to tell you about these 3 books. And why I personally picked these 3 books out for you is the first one is, of course, if you want to have people skills, you have to read this book because she's talking about talking the winner's way. Specific tactical methods that you can use to help you become a wizard at networking and working any room. Okay, that's one. The first one. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Oh, I love this book. This is absolutely the best. Okay, this is like, if you never read any book on negotiation for the rest of your life, this is the book to read. Chris Voss is an ex-FBI negotiator. Fabulous stuff. I got his book when I was transiting in Narita Airport, but you can get the book anywhere. His book is very good because all the negotiation books tell you how to get to a yes, right? He flips it. He flips this entire thing that you think about negotiation. And as women, we all need to learn how to negotiate. Also to the women who are watching on Facebook, we all need to learn how to negotiate because if we learn how to negotiate, there are so many things that we can actually ask for. And because sometimes women, we feel a bit shy, right? So, his book will teach you how to negotiate, okay, like an FBI. And then the last one is, I know some of the people here, you're working. The toughest thing in the people skills part is that when you have to be the bearer of negative news, when you have to tell people your work sucks, sorry for using the word, but yes, your work is not up to par. You're not leading the project correctly. You're not doing the things that we want you to do. It's so hard, right? It's so hard to open up on those really negative stuff. And because as a community, we want to be very, very nice to each other because we have to see the person next day at work. We don't want to argue with that person. So this book, Radical Candor by Kim Scott, teaches you how to navigate the tough conversations, the really tough conversations, when you really have to have those conversations at work with the people that you work for. How to do that with empathy. It's very hard to do that with empathy, especially when you're firing someone, especially when you have to get someone off your team. But she has a framework for doing that, and she really tells you step by step what you can do if you're faced with certain situations, right? And of course, these are the three, I would say, for this crowd here, and especially those who are watching on Facebook. Get your hands on these three books. I am not paid to sell or talk about the books. I love this book, so I'm sharing with you my personal treasure trove. And I hope that you will have fun with the books. And if you have fun with the books, please come and let me know since you got my email. So thank you very much once more. And any questions? Because Ayn is going to give you some goodies if you ask questions. Okay, hi. Yes.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I have a question for someone who has too much empathy.
Okay.
So sometimes I would like to negotiate stuff. So for example, bargaining, right? But at the back of my mind, I pity the other party, meaning like, okay, the person probably needs the money more than I do.
Okay.
So I end up not negotiating.
Okay.
And I even end up giving them more because
Okay.
I pity the other people,
Okay.
the other person.
Yeah.
So what's your tips for people like me, where I have too much empathy, where I think too much about the other party instead of myself?
Okay. That's a good question. Okay. How many of you feel like her? Your name, please?
Hi, I'm Zira.
Zira.
Zirah.
How many of you feel like Zira? Like you have so much empathy, like, I cannot go and haggle. I cannot go and ask the auntie for 20-cent discount or something like that, right? So how would I do it? To me, I ask myself, can I afford it? If I can afford it, empathy aside, right? I ask myself, can I afford it? Okay. Sometimes the other person really needs an extra 20 cent or 1 ringgit. Or how many ringgit are you going to give her? Of course, if that person is really slick, okay, then you bargain harder. But for me, sometimes I bargain harder with my clients than I bargain with the regular person who's in the, in the market or in the shops, especially if it's a mom and pop shop. Especially if it's like, we know it's a family business kind of thing. Sometimes I will just, give and take. To me, I think it's okay having empathy, I think that's a really good thing. So don't think of it as something negative, like, I've got so much empathy that I don't know how to bargain. So that's where Chris Voss's book will teach you how to be a better negotiator. Empathy is empathy, because in his book, what he does is, and this is what I really like about Chris Voss, he says, go into the negotiation with empathy and respect. Okay, don't go in just to kill the other person. Because usually we think of negotiations like, I win, you lose, right? So negotiation in his way is win and win. How can I do something? I can get something, and you can also get something. And both of us end up very happy at the end of the day. So exactly like the papadum story, right? Both of us very happy. I got what I wanted. Uncle Sabas got what he wanted, so we're happy. So that is a way of how do you want to go in with that two values in mind. Okay? Respect and empathy. And out of that, your outcome will reflect that. But if you go in and say, I don't care, whatever happens, I'm going to get like 100% out of this, that person will get nothing. That will change the outcome. That will change the outcome completely. So even if whether it's the person you're haggling with in the market, like, have you seen those people in the market where they buy things and then they also ask for 2 extra chili, spring onion, that kind of thing? It's like, even though I give it to you, but I also want to take something back, right? So ask yourself, like, sometimes it really isn't needed. Like, do you need to take the 2 free chilies from the auntie, or the bawang, down bawang from the auntie? Come on, she needs to make a living, right? So let's be fair. Like, we go into negotiation, we go into any relationship with empathy and respect. And that's how you can get better results. That's how you can get better outcomes. Regardless of your empathy level, Zira, I think you're on a good track, but to stay on track for other things, not just the haggling, try and learn some ways of maybe making it better for you, so they don't feel out of it. You feel guilty, right? At the end, like, you feel guilty. Yeah. Yeah. So win-win is the key. If you can't think win-win-win. Okay, so now I challenge all of you, right? Win-win is what people always talk about. Win-win. Like I win, you win, right? But what about a win for another party? So this is where I always tell people, I have this thing called triple win concept. Win-win-win is far better than win-win. So how can you do win-win-win? So think about that. How can it benefit another party besides yourself, besides the other person you're talking to, but the greater community at large? How can that impact them as well? So think about that. Okay, any? Okay, yes. How to learn to say no? In what situation?
Along the line of last question,
Yeah.
it's like when people ask me to do something, I don't have the heart to say no. So I end up
Saying yes.
taking everything until like I'm this much.
Okay.
So
Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably a question that all of us, I mean, there's a dilemma all of us face, not a question, it's a dilemma, right? Like, how do you say no? Because if you keep saying yes, you keep too much. You get too much on your plate, and then you get stressed out, you get burnt out, you get frustrated. And the worst thing is you get resentful, right? You're like, oh, I hate doing this, right? But I have to do it because I said yes, right? So think of it this way. If you say yes to whoever who asks you that, who are you saying no to? If you say yes to whatever that person, just say, I ask you to do something. Azura, can you do this for me? And say yes. But you are saying yes to me, but you're saying no to someone else. Right? Who's that someone else? It could be your family. Because you have no time to spend with your kids. Yeah, it's yourself, okay? You have no time for yourself. So I used to have that dilemma too. Like people ask me and I keep saying yes and yes until at one point I told myself, if I don't say no, the person that I'm saying no to is actually in the end ourselves. We take on too much, we get burnt out, we get frustrated, and we just hate the project, right? We get involved in a project that we hate. So you have to be able to ask yourself, if I say yes to this, I'm saying no to myself. Are you less important? If you are important, then you say no. And say no without saying, because, okay, I can't help you to do this because, stop the because. Just say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. That's it. And try not to say the because part. Because is such a big part of our like culture, right? Like, I need to give an alasan, nak bagi alasan kan. Like, I want to give a reason, an excuse so that the person feel better. But the person can go and ask someone else. Or maybe, okay, this is my way of dealing with it. If I say no, I say, I can't do this for you, but perhaps you would like to talk to this person who may be able to have that time to help you. And I always pass this opportunity to my friend. Like sometimes people ask me to speak, and I say, I can't because my time is just this much, right? 24 hours a day. So I say, but I have a friend who can speak. I have a friend who can help you with this. I can have a friend to refer to you. Then refer that friend. And so in this way, you've done win-win, right? You can't do it, but never mind. You actually pass an opportunity to your friend. And your friend will love you for it because like that person is like waiting for an opportunity, but never getting it, right? So then you just, give that opportunity to that person. So say no, and then add on with add value by giving a referral to someone who can help them. Yeah, so that is how I deal with it. How I deal with the yes, no, feel bad about doing it. And I'm also that I understand perfectly. It's hard, especially for women to say the no. It's really hard. I don't know about men. Is it hard for you to say no? Oh, sometimes. It's hard for you to say no. Oh, sometimes. Okay. So it's fair in terms of gender, right? So it's not like men have it easy. No means no. But I do know some men who actually can say no and then just live with it. Okay? They're fine with it. Okay? Any more questions? Okay. Do we have a mic? So we have to take the last two questions and we have to wrap up. Yeah.
I'm Yenny, and
Yeah.
I'm from Motorola. So recently, I have been into a platform to build up my leadership skills and communication skills.
Yeah.
But the recent feedback that I received was the people in that community are too afraid that I'm a bit over influential instead. So it's like there's always two sides, right? When we talk about influential, some people will really say, "Oh, you know what, Yenny, you really influence me. You know, I like the things that you are doing." But there's always another part of people will say that, "Oh, you know what, this person is like kind of out of control. We will need to somehow encapsulate back this person into certain area or to reduce the power influential." So my question to you is, how do we manage these both sides, that we can strike a balance maybe, or we can maybe build a better image?
So I guess you're asking that question because people have given you the feedback that you were overly influential, right? So do you think that you were overly influential? Okay, okay. Do you like it?
Actually, I was thinking, okay, so this is the feedback, but my personal thought is like, I think there is a way to manage this type of people who think that I'm over influenced. Perhaps they have a different perspective or what, I'm not sure. But when I talk it to, I mean, that person even try to avoid having a conversation with me. So this particular topics doesn't really get solved. So he get another third person to talk to me about it.
Which is
So,
gossip.
yeah, it's like telling me that, oh, you know what, can you tone down a little bit? You know, you're actually influencing other people to lead to another direction and stuff like that. And my personal actions or thought at that particular moment was like, oh, you know what, this is all about transparency. So we need to be transparent. We need to know what is happening, and that's how we grow our leadership skills. You know, like when you are in middle management, you need to be answerable to your stakeholders and also your people below you. So people below me is totally satisfied with how I did. It's now my stakeholders who doesn't really like the way I did. Like I over take care of my own people and doesn't care about them. I was thinking it's not that way. It's like I need transparency. I need some explanation to even provide a better explanation to my people when they question, or why is it this particular decision is being done so. But now the stakeholders are telling me that, you know what, you are too influential until the same level together with you, the leadership level, is agreeing with what you say and trying to boycott or trying to like, wow, what bangkang kind of situation. So
Okay.
yeah,
I,
this is
I,
the
under,
mixed
yeah.
feelings.
So,
The
so
mixed
like you're in like the middle of the sandwich,
yeah.
right? And you have to take care of the top
Yes.
layer of the sandwich, and there's a bottom layer of the sandwich, right? So like really, you're the middle part. That's really tricky because to me influence is a good thing, but until someone comes and tells you like, hey, it's you're too much, right? So one of the things that as a leader, and I think that I've also learned this the hard way, is that the only way to get around issues like this is to really have a conversation, really talk about issues. And that's why I recommended book Radical Candor, because I don't have all the answers, but I'm also learning. So I like that book Radical Candor because it shows you how you can have a conversation without making the other parties feel upset, making the other parties feel like, you're wrong, I'm right. Usually we go into conversations by saying, okay, I'm right and you're wrong. So I am trying to tell you that you are wrong. So that's not the way it should be. It should be having a conversation. For me, sometimes it's also hard. Like sometimes I manage my committee members and teams and all that. It's really hard. Sometimes those are the tough conversations that you must have. That's where that is a constant learning process. Maybe around here, if there's anybody here who's able to help Yenny, please also reach out to her. Like, this is really a constant issue, right? When you deal with people, this is what happens. There are a lot of this kind of people issues that will crop up. So try to understand first, and then use some of the tactics in the book Radical Candor to help you navigate really difficult conversations. I know, sometimes people can say, oh, this person is too much, this is like, so we always have to really be the leader that we want to be. But you may not know. But you may not know whether that's the right thing or not to do, right? Yeah. Yeah. If anybody here has experienced that, I think Datuk Rohana probably is a good person to talk to after this. You know, she has tons of experience in that because she used to do what, HR, right? HR and all HR and comms. So yeah, please do talk to her. Yeah. Okay. Final question. No more? Okay. No more. There is.
Perhaps they can ask
Yeah, we take
directly after the
Yeah,
session.
we can take it offline.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because there's another speaker. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Krista Goon, for the very interactive session. Right.